For those who walked in, if anybody is playing Tails, I do have cards. Please take. I have 2 more. Please take. So, you started it?
Yeah.
All right. So today we're going to be doing the advanced course. Yesterday I did a one-on-one course, and I see a lot of familiar faces, so thank you for coming on. Just to, it's literally the exact same PowerPoint format because it was easier for me. But, maybe I should turn this on. Yay! Again, as a reminder, I am an educator and I am a librarian, so I have an objective. Our objective for today is, of course, to give you some advanced advice on how to enhance your writing and increase your reach. So the first part of the presentation is about increasing your reach into the fandom. So where you can find some communities within your fandom and how to basically advertise yourself to get more people to read your fan fiction. And then the second half, I'm going to go over a little bit more detailed writing advice that we have especially learned in the last 8 years we've been writing together.
We're at almost 10 now.
Yeah, we're almost at 10. So, and that one especially, we're going to give you a lot of advice that we've learned from our original writing work as well that you can translate into fan fiction writing. So once again, just a quick introduction. I'm KR Luna. I mainly write now Helliverse, so a lot of Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss. Together we used to write Clans. We still dabble every so often. They'll never leave our hearts. And this is...
And I am Jay Volpes. Most of my writing is done on our original novels at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. So you're addicted to fan fiction writing. Congratulations. Just a little history from me. I've been writing fan fiction since 2005, and that is when I was 18, 19 years old. I originally started, I think my first one was an Inuyasha fan fiction, and then I know it went to Ranma 1/2 because I loved Ranma more, and then I know it went into Naruto. So that's where it kind of all started. And then I eventually migrated into different fandoms, and I became known more for our Clans fan fictions, and now I'm getting known in the Hellverse. So that's kind of like my general background with fan fiction. I've been doing this for a long time. I am almost 40, and I don't seem to stop. It is what it is. I love it. I love writing fan fiction. So one of the big things that a lot of people sometimes, especially in our age of increase with social media and putting yourself out there in communities, is your reach, trying to advance your reach into getting more people to read your fan fiction. Because in turn, while we do obviously write fan fiction for ourselves and we want to write them because it's the story we want to read, but unfortunately we have to write it, you still also want other people to read it. And a lot of the times this is our stepping stone into our fandoms and trying to reach our community members and find other people. The glory that we have now is that there's a lot more online reach, where you can meet a bunch of friends online and get to know them and build these communities with them. And if you get into a place where I am very happy to say that I'm in right now, I just know a bunch of other authors and we just swap stories and it's fantastic. Hey, what are you writing? Oh, you're writing this? Oh, great, let me show you this. It's phenomenal. So hopefully you can find yourself in that kind of place within your fandom, using your fan fiction and getting like that kind of creative back and forth with them, and it does help increase your reach. Some of the ways that you, yeah, that's kind of it. So to increase your reach, many who obviously want to write fan fiction want people to view and comment on their stuff. I will say that in the recent years, compared to how it was maybe even just 10 years ago, 5-10 years ago, we are seeing a decrease in a lot of interactions from the readers to the writers, and it is kind of disheartening, it's sad to say. I remember that when we used to write Clans, we would get on average, by the time our fic became kind of known within the fandom, we would get on average anywhere between 20 to 25 comments per chapter. Now I'm barely scrapping 5 comments per chapter, and it's the exact same 5 people that I know, but I know my fan fiction is getting read because I'm averaging about 900 views every time I update a chapter. So there's just a decrease, unfortunately, of commenting, but what I have noticed is that if you put yourself out there, you end up getting an increase of DMs and comments on your posts on social media, and people coming and running to you, oh my God, you just updated a fan fiction, let me yell in your DMs as I'm reading it. So when you start building those kind of relationships, that kind of part increases, so you're not seeing the comments so much in AO3 anymore, but you are starting to see a little bit more personalized relationships with your readers, and I don't know, for me it's been kind of nice because I've gotten to know them a little bit better, and it's fun hearing them theorize things like that, and I just go, like that's my favorite part. Of course, where you want to go, social media is your first step. I love Blue Sky. I am a Twitter leaver. I left. My username is still there, so if you were to try to find my username, you would still see me, but I haven't posted in Twitter in a very, very, very long long time. I just leave my username there so that no one steals it. But I love Blue Sky, and Blue Sky especially, you get to tailor and create how your algorithm looks, and it's made it far easier to reach those people that you want to reach in those fandoms. Tumblr still works really good. I know a lot of people still use Tumblr. We use Tumblr a lot during our Clans days, and I still kind of use it. Not so much, but I follow a lot of artists there, and I follow that especially to get updates on when there's events to sign up for and zines to sign up for and things like that. Tumblr's a really good place for that kind of stuff. Instagram, shockingly enough, even though it is mainly a social media site for pictures, if you make book covers, Instagram actually can work really well on your site, and I'll show you what I do with my Instagram to kind of put reach on my writing, even though it is a photography platform, and there is ways to do that. Of course, my new favorite thing that has happened, Discord. I love Discord. Discord is the best. I think I just entered another server today because I am a crazy lady and I follow a lot of artists, and a lot of artists are starting to make their own servers. But these are artists within the fandom, so again, it's more networking, it's more reach. Of course, signing up for fandom events. You guys are at a convention. This is a good place to meet each other and to meet other people within your fandom, and push your fan fiction and writing, or go to other events that kind of have to do with your fandom. So for example, I know we have a burlesque show happening later today. Well, those lovely ladies did a Have Been Hotel show about 2 months ago, and a friend of mine from a Discord chat invited me to go with them, and we're both in an event for Radio Apple, and the first thing we did was like, hi, do you read Radio Apple? Would you like to read our fan fiction? And they were literally promoting us as we were like waiting for the show to start. So even those kind of locations kind of can help with that. So that's like the good ones that people kind of don't think about, but you can network when you go physically into places as well. So to kind of give some examples, this is how my Blue Sky looks. When you're working on a website like Blue Sky, you have to learn how the social conversation works in those social media platforms. So Blue Sky is all about creating your algorithm by using your hashtags wisely. One of the big things that I learned ahead of time is when you make your profile page, you put all your common hashtags on the top of your bio, because then there's literally an option where they can right click and say, show me all of the hashtags for just this person's profile. And it shows you every single one of my posts that has that hashtag on it. And then for every post, I do the same thing. But then this also, if they created channels that go into the Helliverse, my thing will pop up there automatically. And then as my friends and people that I've met within the community start sharing my stuff, it starts to say, oh, this is another Radio Apple, and then all these people always follow Radio Apple, and it keeps popping my stuff into their algorithm. So being very mindful about how you use your tags and learning about the social rules of that social media is very, very, very important on how to push your reach. And I'm gonna show you my Instagram. So this is.
Can I ask you a quick question about
Yes.
Blue Sky? Do you have is this Blue Sky that you have specifically just for your writing?
Yes, I have actually 2 Blue Skies. I have a non-safe for work and a safe for work. My non-safe for work is my fan fiction one, and then my safe for work is for our original novel.
Yep.
That's what the reason I was asking is because of the whole purpose of trying to get people to, and how some people's accounts will be multi-faceted and will get boggled down. So.
Yep.
Okay,
And you can do that. And I advertise my safe for work one on my non-safe for work, and people that just enjoy my writing, period. Every so often I do a post hey, just as a reminder, I am planning on publishing a book by winter. If you're interested in learning more about that, please follow this account, because this account is gonna do more with that. And I have seen increases in my followership there as well because of that.
Thank you.
For Instagram, this is our Instagram that we share. These are all the book covers for all of my fan fictions. So this is how I push my reach on a photography platform. And when you click on it, because luckily it does let you click, yes, it shows. I also make a summary if it loads. Maybe not, because the Wi-Fi is shady. But I do have the summary that you would see in the back of the book. And then on the next one it says, follow me for more on Luna Vulpes in EO3. And then it's my little icon face, which is a lovely image that I got someone to draw for me, which is me holding a cup of coffee that says Reader's Tears on it. Aww. It's my favorite drawing of all time. I commissioned someone to do that. And then someone gifted me the mug.
Yes.
Our birthday was in June, because we actually share the same birthday. And someone so kindly was DM'd me, and they're like, hey Luna, happy birthday. And it was a picture of the mug and I just received it, and I had my first cup of coffee with it, and it's great. So now I'm like, now I have to recreate this picture with me, because I have that sweater too. So, but I was like, that's so sweet. But yeah, you can do this with Instagram. That kind of helps, again, with your reach there. And then I also have a card. So this is a website. I've just started making my card, so I'm finishing mine. I'm gonna start working on hers, and then we're gonna create our United one. Again, I hope it works. Yeah, it worked. So then a card is basically like your website. And this is the one that I tag on, like the link, the business link that you put on every single social media. And this shows you a little bit of everything. So this is like my who I am, all of the zines I've been published in before. And then I have like all the different stuff. So The Rose Queen is our original novel. And then The Garden of Eden is my fan fiction series that I'm most known for right now. And it gives you like all the information about all of this. And then all of those are hyperlinks that take you straight to the AO3. So these are just, again, ways to increase your reach. I think the next slide was Discord. Hold on, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Then of course Discord, yay! Discord is a fantastic place to find your communities, even small fandoms. Somebody will typically make a server for that fandom so that you can go in there and yell with all of your compatriots about how amazing your fandom is. I'm in a very popular fandom right now, so we have a lot of servers right now. This is my personal new favorite. It was made by a close mom of mine, and she actually called it the Radio Apple Library. And the entire concept of this server is for readers to come meet their favorite writers and talk with their favorite writers, and to ask them questions about their fan fictions, and for us to post works in progresses. And she even has so that we can live stream writing for our readers to come watch us write. So it's a really cool server that she created. It's literally maybe 2 or 3 weeks old, but it's nice. And this is a great place for those people who love reading to come in. And we have a lot of amateur writers coming in and talking to us, more experienced ones, and giving this. I actually posted my 101 panel from yesterday on here last night. And I've already had 2 people message me to ask questions from my panel yesterday. So servers are fantastic, great places to go. Even if you just go to a general server that just talks about your fandom, it's not specific to writers, it's still a good place, because almost every fandom server will have a place like, hey, post your fic rec here, hey, post your art rec here, and then that's where you're like, hey guys, I updated my chapter, and then that's where you leave it and people read it and they chat, and that's how they get to know you. So Discord is a wonderful place to network with your fandoms and figure out how to push your fan fictions on other people. Another one, of course, is applying for zines or events. I have been very fortunate in the many years that I've been in fandom that I have been published in 9 zines. 1 for Kingdom Hearts, 8 for Clans, and it's 10, and then 1 for Radio Apple. And then I've also now been chosen for an event, which I am now going to plug my event. Thank you very much. So this is me. That's me with the coffee. Where I was selected to be one of 26 authors. To write what is known as Radio Apple A to Z. Every single author gets a letter of the alphabet, and then we have to write a fan fiction based off that letter. I am L. L is for lonely. I chose the word lonely, and my fan fiction is going to be very angsty. What's really nice about it is that then this year they added that we have to collaborate with an artist. And my artist, God bless her, I love them with all of my heart. They used to work for My Little Pony, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me, and they are fantastic, and I love them. So we're very excited because our fanfiction gets posted on August 1st, because starting on July 21st, every single day for 26 days, one of us updates our fanfiction, and it's a big thing that we've been promoting and pushing, and the community in and of itself is excited to see it. And what I love about the selection of authors is that some of us are known and some of us are unknown. So this is going to put some of those unknown authors out there to get more reach. Another thing that I'm participating in, and this one's a little easier, is the Big Bang. A lot of fans do Big Bangs. Big Bangs are just an event that you sign up for. It's not like my A to Z where I was selected. The Big Bang you just sign up for, and typically how it works is that a writer comes up with an idea, you write up your summary, you write up your general tags, and then artists go in and select who they want to work with, and the moderators of the event will put you with an artist. And you guys get however much time to create magic together, and then you get a date to post it online and people read it. And what's nice about the Big Bang events is that, like I said, this is not an application process that you get selected. This is you just sign up and do it, but they advertise it like crazy in the community. So again, you're pushing your reach out there. And any chance for me to collaborate with anybody is a wonderful excuse. I love collaboration, it's my favorite part of fandom. So that's another one, and I've done Big Bangs for Plants, I've done Big Bangs for Radio Apple, I've done like a bunch of these. And then there are reverse bangs, which I think are very interesting, where the artist draws art and then the writer is responsible for writing a piece of fan fiction for that piece of art. So there's also reverse bangs as well, which I think is always interesting. And then these over here are the covers of the zines that I've been accepted for. Zines are a little bit harder to get into. Those are a selection process. So you do typically do like a portfolio, you put in for an application, and whoever the moderators are will select you or not select you if you can get into the zine. Zines are great, and it's okay if you get rejected. I know I said that I was a 9, but I've applied for over 30. So, you know, I don't get accepted for every single one. But zines are fun. I always recommend you do it. Just if you do get rejected, it's okay. That doesn't mean you're a bad writer. Sometimes we just are in communities with really great writers. I know that within my new fandom, some of the best writers I've ever spoken to. So anytime I get rejected, I'm like, no, that's fair, because everybody's really good here. Like, I have not read a single bad fan fiction in this fandom. So they're really good authors out there. So that's us in our 2018 panel here at AFO. Surprise! Like I said, networking, coming into panels and talking to people in the community physically as well. It doesn't hurt. I've seen some authors print little business cards and shoot them out to people as they were like talking. We used to do bookmarks that were business cards. So on the back it had all of our information, and on the other side was like a nice, beautiful little bookmark based on what we wrote. So keep networking. Networking is a great tool for you. Any questions on reach? We're good? All right. So you want to make your things pretty, because sometimes it's just words. No, let's make our stuff pretty. So that's my book cover for my current fan fiction. I did this on Canva. Canva is your best friend. Canva is a wonderful program. It's actually where I made this entire PowerPoint presentation as well. I will say you do have to typically pay for Canva if you want the really nice stuff. I am very fortunate that the school district pays for Canva, so I get it completely for free through my job. And I do use it more for fan fictions than I do for my job.
Oh yeah.
Don't tell them. I do use it for work, but far more for fan fiction.
I think I make up for you on that front.
I know.
Because I run the yearbook at our high school, so that's all I use Canva for.
Yeah, and I absolutely use it way more for fan fiction. But I do like to make pretty covers, and what's really nice about the covers is that when you do create them, I embed them into my fan fiction. So when you click on my fan fiction, it's the first thing you see. And it's these two images side by side, and then you kind of scroll down and see the actual story itself. But then I also use this on my social medias, because especially on things like Blue Sky and Twitter, what catches your eye faster, text or images? It's the image. So this captures people's attention a little quicker than me just saying, hey, I updated my fic, here's the link, and then there's nothing else. So I've noticed ever since I started making book covers and adding them to every single time I put it out there on socials, hey, I've updated, more people tend to jump on it because something about the image caught their attention. I'm currently posting a fan fiction that is called The Devil and His Executioner, and the cover is has blood splatter on it and it looks distorted. And then I also created head borders, because that story, every single chapter is its own mini story. So I created its own little title card for every single one as well. And again, Blue Sky. Blue Sky is a godsend. So I do recommend it. You still can make really good book covers with the free program. And what's really nice about Blue Sky, let's see if the internet works for me. When you go here into to start a new one, you'll see a search bar. Literally write the word book cover. And then just edit as you need. Most of these book covers that I make are pre-made templates that I just change the title, maybe move some things around, maybe change the color, but I don't start from scratch a good chunk of the time. I do start with a template that's out there. So that's what's really good about Canva too, is it actually does offer book covers for you to use as templates and kind of move on from there. Commission artists, please. I love art. It's one of the main reasons why I'm in fandom. I just absolutely adore art. But one of the fun things that I like to do too is, you have that wonderful scene that you love so much, and oh my God, I have disposable $50 and my favorite artist just opened up commissions. Buddy boy, did I pay for it. And then what I like to do is I write ahead. I'm not one of those writers that writes the chapter, posts the chapter. I try to write 5 chapters in advance before I post the chapter, and then I create more of a posting schedule. But with that benefit also comes that like, hey, can you draw this really angsty piece of art for me that's not going to happen for another 5 chapters because I wish to destroy my readers? Thank you. And then they do the art, and then I put it in the fan fiction. And what's really great, most of the times when you tell an artist this is for a fan fiction, they're like, I will keep your secret until it's time. And I was like, thank you. I appreciate you so, so much. Like, this is for a chapter I haven't released yet. So I'm very excited for this. But commissioning artists is fun, and you can embed them into your fan fiction. What I like to do is embed it in between the paragraphs where the scene takes place. I don't do it at the end, I don't do it in the beginning, I put it right at the moment that it happens, because then it's kind of like a nice little surprise for the reader as they continue reading. Another thing you can do once you start having reach is collaborating. Collaborating is obviously different from commissions. Commissions, you pay for an artist to do it for you. Collaborating is you working with an artist and they will do it for you. Like I said, I just started a fan fiction. We had an event in our community called Radio AFO Horror Week that someone just hosted. I decided to write a whole 7-chapter fan fiction for it and follow the 7 days of the week of the event. And then I luckily, because I've been at this for a bit, I literally put down on Blue Sky, hey, any artists want to collab with me? And I got 5 artists to collab with me. This is the art that I got for free that is based off my fan fiction because this artist wanted to collab with me. Blessing, this is going on my wall. I love it, I adore it, because this is my first true horror fic and I'm just very happy with it. But if you get to a place where you can collab with an artist, it's a wonderful way to just work with other people within the fandom. And there's just something more special about collaborating because it's literally just the 2 of you hyping each other up on socials. Oh my God, this art is so amazing, it's the best. No, you guys should read this fan fiction, it's the best fan fiction I've ever read. No, but your art is what made me cry. No, but your fan fiction is what made me squeal. It's great, watch. And then people just like kind of like, oh my God, they're so excited about it, and maybe I should click on it. So another good way to like work, and especially if you have a good friend, there are some really good friends that just choose to do collabs together for everything. I have a set of friends that are now, they're actually a couple, and they literally just, one is the writer, the other one's the artist, and they keep throwing emotional damage at us, and we love it and adore it. Of course, some world building is always a little fun. I'm going to go into the details of how to world build as a writer in the next few slides, but this is more about using images for world building. I'm writing an AU that is Radio AFO with Wicked, and I decided to kind of go a little extra with it. So I literally created the map of Eden using Inkart. Anything that's D&D related, go crazy. These websites are fantastic. So I made this on a D&D website. So this is literally the map of the country that the entire story takes place in, and I post this at the top of every single chapter that I update. And the readers have told me, it's nice because I can follow the trail and follow the travel on your map. I also like to add like a little document or something that relates to that chapter. So in the beginning, I did a news article of saying that the witch is dead from Wicked, like the throwing in the theme in there. And then in chapter 2, one of them gets enrolled into the academy. So then I made the actual academy symbol. So all of these are things, again, these 2 I made in Canva. Again, templates. Templates are your friend. And I embed these into the fan fiction, and it just kind of immerses you a little bit better, and it gives you a little bit more of an insight, just like you would with a novel. When you open up those fantasy novels and the inside cover is the fantasy map, it's kind of the same idea, the same structure. So if you want to add a little bit of this kind of stuff in there too, it really does help. And then I highly recommend, if you have AO3, that you get this QR code right now. This is a full resource that is posted on AO3 that gives you the HTML codes on how to make things look pretty. It literally is a giant multi-chapter cheat sheet on how to make things look pretty. You want to put glitch text on your fan fiction? This gives it to you. You want to put a highlighting function? This gives it to you. You want to make these star effects? This gives it to you. So please, 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 great resource. And there's actually a lot of really good resources within AO3. If you do go into our AO3 account and you browse through my bookmarks, anytime I find a resource, I bookmark it so that other people can find it. So this is my favorite one for HTML stuff because I know coding can get a little difficult for some people, and I've used this. I literally take the code that I want, copy paste, make the small changes, and kind of move on. So this is a really, really good resource, and there's a bunch more out there on AO3. I even found a guide on how to write smut. I'm telling you, there's stuff in AO3 that are literally just chapters of resources on how to use their website. So I highly recommend finding those as well. All right, any questions on making things look pretty before we get into the writing process? No? All right. So let's improve your writing. First and foremost, practice, practice, practice. If you're not practicing, you're never gonna get better at anything. I will say that I didn't feel confident as a writer until maybe 2019, and I was born in 1986. So it goes to show, and I've been writing since I was 13. So, but practice, practice, practice is what got me there. I like to view fan fictions as my practice for my original novel, because if it's like, you know, there's no money involved, so I like to just play around, and there's places we can go as fan fiction writers that published authors cannot ever go. So it's a nice place to kind of explore that stuff. But all the writing I've ever done in fan fiction is why I believe I became confident as a writer for original novels, because it helped me find my voice. It helped me find how to edit better. It just, overall, all that practice writing fan fiction is what made me a better writer. And even with all the tips in the world that I give you, if you don't put any of those tips into play and you practice with them, it's never going to work for you. So make sure that you're practicing. Of course, increase your writing skills by doing daily or weekly writing prompts. Some of those Discord chats that we're in, they actually offer you different little writing prompts, and they want you to just write 500 words on them to get some daily practice. That's a good way to just practice your voice versus idea creating. So if you're concerned more about, like, does my narrative sound good? Well, just take a writing prompt and write something based on that writing prompt. And that should be able to increase your narrative voice for you to analyze. Make small, reasonable goals for yourself. So there's a bunch of tracking tools, and I'm going to show you some of the tracking tools that I have found online that you can use, or you can create your own. I will say this, I've tried a bunch of tracking tools. I've bought a lot of those pre-made journals. My Neurospicy brain hated all of them. The only one that it liked was the one that I created for myself, and I've been on that sucker for 2 years now, and it's been fantastic. But there are some really good online trackers for you to use if that's what you want to use. Don't push yourself too hard. Make sure that you're making slow increase goals. Don't be like, hey, I'm gonna write 2,000 words every day. I'm telling you right now, you're never gonna reach that goal. I don't reach that goal. So make small, reasonable goals for yourself. And then remember that if you don't meet your goal, that just simply means that it's still your goal and you're still working on it. Never give up on your goal. It's just something that you keep doing, and then increase your goal as you see your performance is getting better. To show, let's get to it. All right, to show how I do mine, I track my goal every single day is that anytime I do sit to write, I want to write anywhere between 1,500 words to 2,000. But I do not force myself to write every day. I'm a parent, I have a full-time job, it's not reasonable for me. But when I do find the time to sit, I try to force myself at least 1 hour a day, and within that 1 hour, I try to write 1,500 to 2,000 words. I will say that that's because of years of practice. I have plenty of friends online that we do sprints with one another, and within a 15-minute time frame, their goal is to just get up to 300 words because that's what they can do. I get up to 600, 800 words, but again, I've been doing this longer, and that's because of practice that I've gotten there. So that's why for me, it's a reasonable goal. And then I track how many words I do, and then I chart them to see how much I do per month. Right here is where you can tell I entered the Radio Apple fandom. Because this was May. We were writing an original novel, and I started writing fan fiction again, and I went up to 86,000 words in 1 month. So I will never see this again. I don't know what kind of madness I was here. Because as you see, it does not stay that pace. But that was like a good month. And then for me, at the end of the year, I like to chart it and make it look pretty, and I post it on my social medias because it's for me.
That was testing season.
Yeah, that was testing
season. Out of my mind.
Yeah, we wrote a whole novel in 2 months. And then I also have some reading goals for myself. I'm a very slow reader, and because I prioritize writing over reading, my goal is to just read at most 3 to 5 books a year if I can get there. I don't count fan fiction because I read a lot of those. Yeah. But I try to read novels because I am technically a librarian, and I probably should be reading novels and not fan fiction. Mm-hmm. So I try. So then I also mark down like how many books I read in the year.
I can say that this method definitely works for her because she can write me under the table now.
Yeah.
I don't write nearly as much as her. You guys won't see my name on fanfics anymore if it's not Clance, mostly because I focus so much on our original novels. But she will literally write me under the table every time.
So much practice. I had so much practice. These are some of the online tools that I have discovered, and I've played around with a few of them. These are really good that if you want to be tracking your word count. So some of these are just like you copy and paste like what you wrote, or you type directly on there and it tells you what your word count was. Or some of these will actually, you'll write in them and then put it in and it'll start creating the graphs for you. Some of these are multifunctional tools that it not only looks at your word count, it actually is also an organizational plan and creates, and you can create folders and binders and places to put your notes and your writing and then your editing style. So these are all different types of writing tools, but I know that these four specifically look and focus a little bit more on the word count and keeping your word count data. Some of these you do have to pay for, some of these are completely and utterly free. But I do like these tools. I've actually used this one with students before, whenever they needed to figure, when you get that classroom assignment, hey, you need to write me an 800-word essay. I send them here. And I'm like, get the correct 800 words, and then copy and paste those 800 words into your Word document to turn it in for your assignment. So I know that this one is completely, utterly free because I use that one with my students. These are other tools. These are a little bit more elaborate tools. These are tools made for writers. Especially this one. This one does cost money, but gosh darn is this one amazing. You literally can write everything in here. You can upload all of your maps. You can write all of your different notes. You can move your post-it notes into your Word document so that it's on the side as you're writing. And then it has editing tools for you to help you edit. This thing is madness. It costs money, but it's madness and it's fantastic. So I do like this one. It's just, it does cost money.
They have a 30-day free trial, and it's not like 30 days and then it's up. It's 30 days of use.
Oh my God, even better.
Yeah, and then you have to pay. It's like $60 for the licensing fee, but it's not like an annual fee.
Oh.
It's just one time.
See, even better. So again, this one is fantastic. I've heard like so many good things about this one.
It's so worth it.
So this one. Now, this is the one I'm going to point out the most. The other ones are great too. I've heard wonderful things, and I've heard some writers using the other ones. I just know this one the most, and I just recommend it. It's so good. All right, so for improving your writing, of course, generally speaking, to improve, you must be also a good reader. Continue reading. Make sure you keep reading, especially in the genre or voices that are common to you. I do like to read fan fictions in order to analyze my friend's work. And if you do find yourself in those communities where you are speaking to other writers, you will get into a place where you guys can actually talk writer to writer. And then you have these really good conversations about what is their purpose in their stories or in their writing style and their voice. And then they will also tell you, and it's not a critique because it's writers talking with each other. You're literally like, when I talk to my writers online, they're always like, you're really good with foreshadowing, you never waste a word. And I'm like, thank you, I really appreciate that. You're really good with emotions, like you give me a whole 2 paragraphs about how they're feeling and you know how to never repeat a word, and that's really fantastic. And you're wonderful in dialogue. I don't even know how you keep throwing all that slang in there. And then this person over here is like fantastic in research and always throwing us resources. So looking at other fan fictions too is a really good way to practice, especially if you're wanting to write more within that fandom. Of course, looking up specific writing resources. There are a lot of really good self-help books about how to improve your writing. I just bought one to look at how to write combat better, because we're reaching a point in our books that we have to write a giant war, and both of us are like, how do we do this? So I bought this combat book, and it ended up being one of the best resources I've ever had, because not only did it give me information on hand-to-hand combat, it gave me information on how to appropriately write how they hold knives, hold swords. They gave me the list of all the different swords, list of different weapons, how to appropriately describe all of these things. It's a wonderful book.
What is the book?
I will find it for you because it's on my Amazon cart. But it is I know it's like How to Write Combat or something like that. It is a fantastic book. I'm just digging into it, and I love it. And I found that, again, in a Discord where someone offered it to me. So I'm telling you, it's out there. Of course, networking, like I said, networking with other authors and listening to some podcasts. There's some really good podcasts out there on how to improve your writing skills. I'm going to recommend one for world building that I've been listening to recently. He's a little dry when he talks, but the information that comes out of his mouth is fantastic. So finding those things as well will be very helpful. So, of course, when you're writing, one of the big topics that we all have is, are we going to write long form or short or one shots? I like to use my one shots as my voice practice, because my one shots are typically short, simple, and to the point. I can write like a small 2,000 word one shot, and again, because I write at such a speed, I could actually finish one of those in a day. And I like to use those to just practice my voice and seeing how I can change in genre. So like when I was getting ready to start writing a whole horror fic, I wrote a one-shot horror to see if I can actually pick up the horror language. And then I had a friend read it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is great. You're good. I think you're going to be good to go with your longer fan fiction." Of course, long form takes a lot more work. If you were here yesterday, you got the whole all my ideas on how to pre-plan and get your long form story prepared. And it is good. I will say, I'm not a believer in the concept of it has to be a certain word count to be considered a chapter. I'm all about quality versus quantity. So as long as you got whatever scenes you needed out of that chapter is fine. Don't worry about, because you're gonna hear it. It happens every time. This chapter was only 2,000 words. Yeah, but that's the only 2,000 words you needed right now. So that's fine. And of course, there's no such thing as a chapter limit. I know that there's a fan fiction out there that just reached 1 million words, and I think is like on chapter 99 or something like that, and they're not done. So there's no chapter limit. I just, of course, recommend that you make sure your story still works if you're in chapter 99. But it could be working. It's still very famous, and people are still really like it. So it is what it is.
I mean, I'm reading. They haven't updated in a while. I think they're updating the story a little. A Pokemon fanfic that's at like 200 or almost 300 chapters at 2 million words.
Yeah,
almost 3 million, I think.
Yeah. And I've heard that there's like fan fictions out there that have been running for 10 years.
Yeah.
And like still frequently updating. So I mean, they exist, and there is technically no limit. As long as AO3 says you can post, you're pretty much good to go. And remember that also your long form fan fictions don't have to be some giant epic. I've written a long form fan fiction that was just a general little romance. It worked. It was 21 chapters long. People loved it and adored it. And then I've written with her 47 chapter long fan fictions that were like a little bit more on the epic side, where it was very angsty and had bigger storylines. So it's fine as long as the story works. Truly, just pick your correct format and keep going.
So that's because we don't write short.
We don't. Now, how to improve your world building. World building can be easy or as complicated as you need it to be. A lot of people, when they think of world building, they automatically think of sci-fi and fantasy, but even your simplest stories still need some form of world building because you're still taking from what the real world is or from the canon verse that you're taking from. So all of these kind of questions that I have listed are still questions that you can ask yourself, even if you're using like a modern setting that you don't think is going to take too much work, or if you're taking from the canon universe. Learning the rules of your world is the most important thing about world building. Ask yourself the following questions. If there's magic, how does the magic work, and how can you break the magic? Because of course that's what our main characters always typically do. They mess up with something magic-wise. If there's laws or government, what is the law of the land? How does it work? Is it going to affect your characters in any way, shape, or form? Obviously for a romance, the law probably won't matter too much, but then in a high fantasy where they're fighting the royal guard, it's gonna matter a whole lot. What is the culture of your characters? This is a good one, especially if you are doing any kind of setting that takes place in our real world, or if you're going to be making any form of topical conversations of the issues that are going on in our world. Please be mindful, just because it's fan fiction doesn't give you free range to disrespect real life cultures. So please make sure that you are learning about those cultures and reading about those cultures. I am Cuban and Colombian, and I was raised in Miami, so basically I was raised in northern Cuba. My mother still only speaks Spanish. So I like to write my characters when they're Hispanic. I just write them like me because that's my culture and I represent my culture as much as I can. But then if I was to write, when I write my fantasy series, we have a bunch of different clans with because they're demi-humans, they're like half animals, half human, and then each species of animals is its own clan, so then they have their own specific culture that they have, that then this clan does not have the same culture for. And then because they live in the desert, this is what they deal with, and then this one lives in the mountains, so this is what they deal with. So that's having to break apart each of their cultures and create their cultures to make sure that it works for the storyline. Of course, if there's any form of religion, make sure that you study up on the religion. Or if you're creating a religion, make sure that you create how that religion is presented within your world. Looking at your environment, so looking at your mapping, like you saw with my last map, I've created that map, but I also showed areas that were deserts, that were barren lands, that was water, that was a little bit more of a big city, the smaller towns, so thinking of all those little concepts as well. what language do they speak in your fan fiction? I know that most of the time we all just default to English, but sometimes you might want to create a separate language, or you're in a fandom that does have separate languages and you want to learn up on those separate languages. So like when we wrote our Clans fan fictions, because I wrote Lance to be very Cuban, because I am Cuban, I had him speak Spanish a lot in that fan fiction when he was talking to his family. So that was something that was common. And then of course, if there's any history in your story that affects the storyline, I know that in Helliverse, I've been studying a lot of how the United States was in the 1920s, because the character was alive during the 1920s, and he was famous with the jazz music of the 1920s. I have created a whole playlist of 1920s music that was released on that date to make sure that when I said that this scene took place in 1929, that song was released in 1929. So I did a lot of history research in that kind of aspect. But also learning if there's any deep history within your world building that's going to affect the characters tremendously, especially like you see it in a lot of animes, right? Where like the previous person who was in charge is now dead, but then that's the mystery. Well, now you're talking about the history of the town and now how that's going to affect your main character. Oh, my images are gone. No. There's plenty of other resources. These were book covers, but I do have articles there for you through, actually let me pull up the non-one so you guys can see the book covers. So I have two book covers and a podcast here that I do recommend. Yay, there we are. These two stories right here are really good about how to improve your writing process. They are written by the same author, but honestly, I love them both. Story Skeleton is about like creating your story from scratch and what are the bones of your story and how to make them pop out. And then Immersion and Emotion is more about picking up your narrative voice to create that emotional tension setting within your story. So I do highly recommend these two books. This is the podcast I was talking about. It's The Art of World Building. What I like about this one is that it kind of, if you are into things like D&D, he kind of explains it to you in a D&D sense, but it is meant for writers. So he kind of explains how you can create worlds and not just fantasy, but it kind of like explains it in that kind of sense of how to create all of your worlds when you're writing your stories. And then these two articles up here, I do highly recommend them as well. One of them is written by the author of these two books. And then the other one comes from that program called Masterclass. Has anybody heard of Masterclass before? So they did write an article on the 10 best tips for world building, and gosh darn it, those are 10 really good tips for world building. So I do recommend looking into that. And if you can afford any of those Masterclass, I actually do recommend them. They're the professors for those Masterclasses are legit authors. I know one of your favorite authors is one of the Clive, right? Yeah, Clive Clusser, right? He's one of the teachers for one of them. And then James Patterson does another one as well. So if you can do them, I do recommend them.
I also recommend the N.K. Jemisin one for world building specifically. That's like the only one I've watched, but it's all about world building in like sci-fi fantasy worlds, and like there's an episode on each different topic, and it goes really into depth.
Yeah, the Masterclass stuff is actually really good. It's not one of those like things that people just try to sell. No, you can actually get some really good lessons out of them. Another good place to find them if you can dig through is TED Talks. Some authors will do TED Talks, and some of the stuff that they choose to talk about is very interesting. So looking up maybe your favorite author to see if they have a TED Talk, I highly recommend that as well. Some final tips. Ask a trusted friend or a beta for feedback. As you start building a relationship with a beta, some of the things you can start doing with your beta is asking them for a little bit harsher criticism because you've built this positive relationship with them. And ask them like, hey, I think I'm weak in this. Can you like pinpoint every single time you think I did good in that and bad so that I can go fix it?
It's alright,
So that's a really good thing to do because then you get another person's eyes on it versus just you blindly looking at your own work. Consistently learn your grammar rules, but the reason why I say to learn your grammar rules is because my favorite advice is that you learn your grammar rules in order to break them with purpose. If you learn to break your grammar rules with purpose, that's what creative writing is. So learn your grammar rules and know them so that you can play with the grammar rules to make your narrative sound beautiful. Concentrate on one improvement at a time. So for me, editing was a big issue for a very, very long time. So I forced myself to take longer to edit for many years to just get better at picking up my own stuff, trying different techniques of editing that I found. And now I'm finally in a place where I found a good technique of editing that has worked personally for me. But that's because I just kept concentrating on like, okay, I wrote the thing, now it's time to focus on editing. What am I gonna do? What works for me, what doesn't? But of course, don't overwhelm yourself. Like, don't say, I'm gonna try to improve my narrative and dialogue, and no, pick one thing, fix the one thing, and then when you feel you finally got it, move on to the next thing. You don't wanna overwhelm yourself. Find some local or online writing groups. Our public library in Haines City actually has a writing circle that welcomes fanfic authors to sit with their writing circle and talk about their fan fictions with the writers within that writing circle and discusses it. I wish I could join, but sadly, the exact time that it starts is the time my child's bus arrives from the school. So I cannot go. I tried, but they do exist. A lot of public libraries offer writing services that people do not know about. And I actually, when I was trying to Google stuff for this presentation, I found a library in Oakland that's doing a fan fiction contest. Right? Check your local library, please save us, they're cutting our budgets. Your library is amazing, they offer a lot of services, but they push for fan fiction writing too, because they know that's just part of the reading and writing community. So check your local libraries for stuff as well, especially writing groups, and like I said, writing groups do accept fan fiction authors a lot as well. Dissect writings that you admire. So especially if you know the author, you're like, wow, this piece of writing of yours was fantastic. Do you mind if I break it apart and ask you some questions? Hopefully they go yes, and then you do that. And then you can ask them questions. I had a friend who was struggling a lot with her writing, and I said, I need you to pick a fan fiction of mine that you've already read, and I need you to pick another friend of yours that you've already read, and I want you to reread one chapter, and I want you to highlight the parts that stand out to you, and then I want you to find those parts in your fan fiction. And then if you can't find them, figure out what you want to do to put those elements into your fan fiction. And she says that that's what finally broke her out of the stuck that she was in. She's dissecting our fan fictions. And of course, be open to learning new things and consistently reflecting on your work. The second you think you're perfect, you have failed as a writer. So, of course, fan fiction writing is about expressing your love for your favorite characters because we do this for fun. But your writing will never be perfect, and it will be okay because you never stop trying. And that's my biggest piece of advice, never stop trying. You will never be perfect. I'm still not perfect, but I definitely know I have improved since that nice little tiny Inuyasha fan fiction back from 2005. And trust me, that is why that fanfiction.net account still exists, so that every so often I can open it and be like, wow, I definitely have gotten better. So with that, I now leave the floor open to any questions. Yes?
Did you find the title of that Writing in Combat?
Yes, let me find it. The phone. You can take questions as I find them.
Yes, any other questions? I can do my best to answer them if anybody else has any while she is searching up that book.
But there's an app that's in there.
I know, she's the smart one. It's fine.
Do you have any other resources that you recommend for like, I've been complimented on my voice before, but some of my narrative structure is pretty weak. Do you have any like resources for that would be good?
For narrative structure?
Yeah.
Those two books that I have up there.
Those
Those two books.
Copy and paste what I wrote into pages because it'll just help you automatically how many words it is. So that's all I use it for. I don't really do anything with
I
it.
tend to use Google Docs for a lot of my writing.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Where I can look up the word count, and if I'm on laptop, I know the shortcut key to pull that up.
Come on, orders.
Yeah.
It's like what they said,
Well, until
whatever
you
works for us,
put too
right?
many words in it, and then it starts being really slow.
I think docs might
Do they
just
have
like
English?
like past 100 pages and just kind of like scroll.
Then you just jump to whatever tab you're working on, and
Yeah.
then you don't have to the entire thing.
I think they do it all.
I know some people have like 10
Find it.
write each chapter in a Google Doc.
Google Docs is nice.
I have folders and I know different parts of the folder.
I said, we face the Google Doc
You're talking
problem.
about Google Doc. I do mine in Notepad because I can do it in the bathroom.
I do this my I'm not really fan fiction, but
Found it.
I'll put all
All right.
the ones I put it in Google
but